The other day, I went to see the movie Caravaggio's Shadow, which is about the Renaissance artist Caravaggio and his artistic career. And so I decided to do my own drawing based off of the movie poster. The film is quite dramatic and it shows how Caravaggio wanted to create his artworks based off of the sufferings of real human people. And so as I did my own sketch, I had to do it about 3 or 4 different times because I kept needing to rework the pose so I can show the emotion and the melancholy in his expression and also the weight of his body leaning against the canvas. After I was happy, then I started to refine other details such as the hair and the body, the hands and the arms, and then finally layering on those really oversized shirt sleeves and just adding some guidance lines on where I thought I wanted some of the folds to drape. In the background, I just did a light sketch of how I would imagine the light coming in. At first, I was going to do this in a bit of a cartoony style, so I put a black outline around the sketch, but later on in the painting, you'll see that I actually go over it. And then afterwards, I filled in everything with just a solid base color to work off of. It looks a bit weird now, but then it's going to look nice when we add the shadows. Now, using that sketch we had at the beginning as a light guidance point, I'm then going in with the airbrush tool to very lightly spray in the folds of the shirt. I'm starting off with sort of a mid-tone shadows, so again it doesn't look quite complete, but as I go over it and continue to layer, adding more pressure with my pen and more intensity, I'm building up the folds in the shirt sleeve. Here you can see I'm actually using a darker kind of brown color to go in and add some accents and really accentuate the folds in that sleeve. From the screenshot, the back of his body is hidden in darkness, and actually a lot of the areas are hidden in darkness. Caravaggio was known for using chiaroscuro, which is this technique of having really dramatic light and darks to his painting. And the movie itself actually films and shoots the shots in that same style. So here, even though I'm doing my own kind of digital art version, I'm trying my best to also play with the lights and the darks. Next, I'm continuing to work upwards on the green part of the shirt. Everything is relative, so even though it looks like it's green, in some areas I had to add in some browns and it almost looks a little bit purple when it's being compared to the lightish part of the shirt sleeve I did before. And so I'm going in and adding more intensity and coloring over the outlines we put in the beginning. On the ruffle of the shirt, I'm starting to get into the groove when it comes to building up these shadows. So I started off with a light pinky color, and then I'm going in with some dark burgundy shades to accentuate the darkness. Here I can see that I actually want it to be redder, so I'm going back and forwards, building up the intensity, going over that light salmon color with some more red, and then going back and forwards to make the shadows more dramatic and dark. Here you can see I'm actually blending in that red to the other parts of the shirt, and for the color I'm just adding some light little dashes as if you can see some of the texture of the fabric in the areas where the light is hitting. Now for the face, I'm just dusting in some yellows, oranges, and pinks to make it look as though he's got, blood in his face. He's not a corpse. I'm making it nice and warm. And then I'm going in and adding in some of these darker brown areas where I see there's shadows, such as around the eyes, half of the face is hidden. And then going in with a smaller brush and just continuing to refine and build up different areas. I started with the face without the beard, so that way I can really focus on some of the areas, especially the lips where it's hidden underneath the facial hair. And then after I'm happy with that shape, I'm going back in with the pencil tool, and I'm adding in the beard and the mustache. These are on different layers, so if I feel like going back and adding more detail to the skin, I'm not going to erase the beard that we're painting in. Half of the face is in shadow as well, but even though we can't see the eye, I'm still sketching it in because it looks weird if you don't put it in. So you can see it very lightly. For the hair, I started off with this like blonde color. It was almost too intense, but that's just where the highlights are. His hair is actually quite dark, a bit of a chestnut color, but it looks almost black in the reference because it's so dark in the shadows. So now I'm coming in with a dark gray color, and I'm going over that blonde and making it look as though we have those individual strands of hair layered on top of each other. I'm actually using a gray color, but because of the way the colors are relative to each other, it's next to that warm skin tone, it looks almost green in comparison. But as I'm building up and adding more and more intensity, you can see that really artificial yellow color is now looking a bit nicer, more like highlights in his brown hair. Now I'm going and coloring in the hands the same way as I did the face, just adding little bits of orange to make it look warm, and then going in with that kind of brownish color to build up the shadows and the intensity and in the strength of his grip. I'm coloring in the canvas to be a bit abstract and quite dark and moody so it stands out against his face. And then on the sides of the canvas, just adding some little folds as if we have that fabric folded over the frame. For the background, I'm keeping it very light and loose. I want the focus to be on the actual figure. So I'm just blocking in these dark shapes as if we've got a window in the background and a painting in the background. And it's really just that contrast between light and darks, where we have lighter areas looking as if we got light coming through the window and everything's dark and moody. And finally, here's the final result of the painting. It took about 5 hours of sketching using Clip Studio Paint and my drawing tablet. Enjoy.